Salvete omnes. If you'd like to support the channel along with these patrons, there's a link in the description box below. The third declension in Latin is more difficult than the first two declensions because the nominative forms are usually irregular and the genders can be difficult to differentiate. But this is an important declension to learn because it is the declination of participles, verbs that are turned into adjectives, which we'll cover in the next video. The nominative form almost never matches the stem form of the noun in this declension and just needs to be memorized. The nominative form for human is homo, but its stem form is homin. However, the nominative form for dog is canis, and its stem form is can. So try to figure out the first sentence. Canis amicus optimus hominis est. Dog is man's best friend. The genitive form for all third declension nouns ends with is. This is what characterizes them as third declension nouns. This also makes it a little confusing for nouns like canis, which matches in this form and in the nominative form, and is why this sentence is a little confusing. But since hominis is a genitive form, canis has to be nominative. If you recall, the first declension is characterized by a sounds, and the second declension is characterized by us sounds. And third declension nouns are characterized by s sounds. So try to guess now what the correct conjugation for dog is in the next sentence. And what does this sentence mean? Loquerisne cum cane tuo? Do you talk to your dog? And here cane is the ablative form. And how would we say, I have a dog? Canem habeo. In order to indicate that it is the object, third declension nouns add an m, just like the first two declensions. However, this is different for neuter nouns, just like in the second declension. Remember, venum is both the nominative and accusative form. Nomen is the same. Amasne nomen tuum? Do you like your name? Notice here that tuum has the characteristic m, while nomen does not. But the stem form of this noun is nomen. We have one more declination for the singular form. Here it is. Homo homini lupus est. Man is a wolf to man. This is the dative form. So we can see in this chart that the singular forms are all either e sounds or I sounds. And the last three lines all match in all but irregular nouns. Let's move on to the plural forms now. This form is much easier because all nouns are regular. There's only a difference in the nominative and accusative form of neutral nouns. Here's the plural ending for nouns like canis and homo. Canes natare possunt. Dogs can swim. And try to guess what the next sentence means and what form homo is in. Hic liber a duobus hominibus scriptus est. This book was written by two people. Hominibus is the ablative form. The preposition a triggers the ablative form. And scriptus est is a passive form, so this means was written. There is, however, another declension that matches this form. Can you tell what the next sentence means? Milites belibus hibum dant. The soldiers give the cats food. The two most difficult to understand declensions have the same form, of course. So we have to understand their meaning from context, which sometimes can be a challenge. The plural accusative form also matches another form, the nominative form. This can also create problems. For example, milites gladiatores necant. Necant means they kill. which is related to the words necrotic, necromancy, etc. So, who kills whom in this sentence? The noun endings don't let us know. We actually have to rely on word order in this case. So, as you may have guessed, the soldiers kill the gladiators. Regrettably, the plural genitive form looks like an accusative form. Here it is. Brevis hominum vita. Literally, humans' life is short. The word est is elided. I mentioned earlier that the nominative and accusative form of the neutral declination is different, but it's easy to master because it's the same as the second declension neutral form. Simply an a, like this. Quae sunt tuis nomina felibus? What are your cats' names? And here are the plural forms of this declination. Fortunately, the vocative form is always the same as the nominative form, so we don't have to worry about this. Now, there's another form for neuter nouns called the I stem form, because it adds an I between the stem form and the normal ending for neutral nouns, as in the following. Animalia amat. He or she loves animals. Here, animal is the stem and a is the usual plural accusative ending. But then there's an I slipped in between. For the ibus endings, though, no I's are added. And this only occurs for the plural forms, and some nouns like animal add an I to all their forms, while others like nox or night only add it to the genitive form. Additionally, some nouns like animal change the singular ablative form to animali, while nox keeps the normal nocte ending. Here we can see all the forms in this chart. This takes a lot of time to master, but it's not so hard if you have lots of exposure to the language. So let's try a few more example sentences. Let's start with nocte dieque studit. He or she studies day and night. Here, day and night are in the ablative form. Day is actually a fifth declension noun, which we'll have to tackle later. Next we have librum de animalibus lego. This is of course the plural ablative form of animal, which is the same for all fifth declension nouns. And finally, leo rex animalium est. The lion is the king of the animals. Here, animalium is the genitive plural form. And there you have it. But remember, the best way to learn a language is through comprehensible input. So check out the lessons in this playlist where you will acquire these forms organically. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you can, help support the channel on Patreon, where there are audio downloads and transcripts of each dialogue and story. Gratias!